Right. So point number one is introductions, because this mug here is in the preview episode 0, but yours
Okay.
isn't. So who's this? What are we doing here?
I'm Luke on five, and my dad's Bruce Lee.
Uh,
Well, I'm Luke. Um,
but I call you LOK.
millionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Not yet, anyway.
Pending.
Um,
Patent pending.
yeah. Who am I? Uh, well, I'm a software engineer at the minute, and I've just decided to start a podcast with this guy to just talk about
With
random
this guy.
shit.
And yeah.
This guy, aka Jim Bob, to just talk about anything from gaming to fitness to existential crises to anything that's going on in the
Well,
world.
let's not get ahead of ourselves here now.
I
We'll
mean,
keep the
you,
existentialism until later on.
you have no idea how many tangents we're going to get into. I guess, should I talk about my hobbies as well to make it a very generic introduction?
Yeah, you got to make it as generic as you can.
Yeah,
We got to appeal, consume, consume, consume. Let's
well,
go.
I mean, one of my hobbies is having a very bad chesty cough, which I've had for a week. So apologies for that. But yeah, I enjoy going to the gym. Love fitness. Love weight training. Well, I say love gaming. I haven't been playing games as much recently, but this guy's trying to revive my love for
We'll get it
games.
going.
Love watching movies. Love traveling places. Love just talking shit like I'm doing right now. I don't really know what else to say for an introduction, so
Yeah, that's it.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to kind of recap everything from episode 0. If you haven't listened to it,
Okay.
where have you been? It's only 23 seconds long. Get your attention span. Get training. But basically, yeah, we're both kind of software engineers. I don't know what software I engineered just yet, because really long start times. Am I right? Hey. But yeah, so I guess we're just wanting to chill out and see what happens with the podcast, and try and get our own views out there, because you hear about all these boys are like, oh, did you hear on this podcast he said this? I don't know who that is, and I don't know why I should care about his opinion, but it's a market that people seem to want to get into and really engage with. So I know, let's jump on the bandwagon, hey.
Joe Rogan, get us on your podcast.
Joseph, get us on now. Um, yeah. Another thing I want to say as well. I don't really hear a lot about it, but Anchor is actually quite a good platform. In terms of discoverability and stuff. And I was looking. You can, like, every episode. We're on like 5 platforms now, I think. We're on Anchor. We're on Breaker. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Pocket Casts. We're on Radio Public, and we're on Spotify. But
Great.
something I've never noticed. Anchor, whenever you publish an episode on Anchor, if you listen on Anchor, you can then leave little messages. So, like, if you go
Okay.
to a certain part, you can be like, the way on, like, SoundCloud, you can leave comments at a certain point in the song.
Yeah.
Anchor's kind of the same, so they can leave, like, messages about a certain part of the podcast. So I just wanted to, like, let people know about Anchor, so that if there is something that, if one of us two idiots manages to say something that strikes a chord, go on to Anchor and give us a little message about your bit, and we can then put them in the next episode, and
Or
answer them.
even another use case for that is just if you have any valuable feedback as well,
Yeah.
probably lay it on us. You know.
Um, Average listen time for episode 0 is 23 seconds, and it's 23 seconds long. So, I mean, audience retention 100%. So we're doing well so far. um, but yeah,
Let's not
that's
fuck it up.
that's all the sort of housekeeping I wanted to get into. Unless there's anything you want to chat about before we
No,
get
I
on the
think you
talking
pretty
points.
much I think you've pretty much covered it very well. I mean, I've introduced myself. There's probably not much point in you reintroducing yourself, is there? I don't know.
Well, I mean, all I said in the first episode was I'm Jim Bob and my friend is LOK, and no one had heard your voice
Yeah.
before in the podcast, so we're both out there. I'm Jim Bob and that's LOK, so we're sorted.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Anywho, that's that shit.
That bullshit's done. Did anything in the news this week grab your attention?
Um, did I watch the news this week? I've just sort of been living under a fucking rock, just
Living under a
lying in my bed,
rock.
suffering with my little chesty cough. Um, no, nothing really in the news this week has grabbed my attention other than, well, I saw there was that kind of there was that shooting over in Plymouth, which was fucking shocking.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
something. Yeah.
guess we probably shouldn't delve into that too much. We want to keep it positive,
Well,
kind of.
we're not going to delve into it too much, but there is something I do
Yeah.
want to say about it, and it's something that really
Okay.
fucks me off about like whether it's here on the US or anywhere. When there is a mass shooting, you always find out the name of the fucker that did it before anyone that they killed, which I think is
Yeah.
just giving them what they want. Like they want that infamy so that they can be remembered. So like, why do we constantly like it's this isn't a new topic, this is a new opinion, and any podcast or anything
No.
I've ever heard of,
No.
someone has at some point said this, but stop glorifying assholes because they did
Before the
something.
victims. Yeah.
Yeah, stop glorifying assholes because they did something shocking. Like, if they killed somebody that was trying to stop them, glorify them who died trying to stop this dude from killing 55 people or whatever,
Yeah.
and just let that dude fade into obscurity to be forgotten with time because that's what they fucking deserve.
Yeah. And that this kind of leads me into a completely different tangent from that. Serial killer documentaries. Yes, they're very fucking interesting, but don't you kind of think the likes of Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer and stuff? Do you not think those documentaries kind of glorify them and sort of get people interested in the serial killer? You
Yeah,
know, it's kind of given the serial killer some notoriety at the same
yeah.
time.
There's that. Like, my mum watches them all the time, but
Hmm.
she's more
I
interested in
watched them
like
too.
the true. She's interested in like the sort
Yeah.
of the true crime aspect of it, like because they normally have like
Yeah.
psychologists being like, this dude was really mentally ill. Oh shit. And she likes them for that aspect of it, and I can sort of see why it would be interesting to
Hmm.
folk. But like at the same time, there's already so much fucking doom and gloom about in the place, and you're like, so you watch the news, you read the news all day, somebody's died, somebody's killed somebody, whoever, like your favorite actor has cancer or something. Um,
Yeah. Fuck.
like talking about that, like the biggest surprise I had like in the last year, I woke up one morning and Chadwick Boseman was dead. Like,
Yeah,
like
that
that,
was
like
fucking shocking.
that's the sort of
Yeah.
stuff that ruins your week. And then after you read all that during the day, you go to work and you come home. What do? Oh, you put on a documentary about this boy that killed 55 people 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And Eddie Van
that
Halen as well. That was a shocking one for me.
was a big
I knew
shock.
he had cancer, but yeah, that was
Yeah,
sad too.
like with things like
Yeah.
that as well. Like I always think to myself, and like you kind of feel bad. Like, did I do that? Did I manifest this? Like you think, oh, I heard he had cancer a while ago. I wonder how he's doing. And like 2 days later, he's dead. And you're like, did I manifest that into the world? Shit.
Yeah, it almost seems like suspiciously close in time in your
Yeah.
mind. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like
Yeah,
like
it's the
I've
same when
had
Michael
pets and
Jackson
stuff.
died when I was like nine
Yeah.
years old. Yeah,
Like
it's fucking
I
nuts.
had a cat that was like, the cat was like 14 or 15 years old, and one weekend I had a dream that it died, and two week like either 2 days or 2 weeks later it was dead, and I was like,
Jesus, that's
fuck,
rough.
premonition here.
So
Um,
this kind of leads me into another big talking point that kind of just came into my head. Talking about manifestation, what are your kind of thoughts on manifestation? Because myself, I would be a big believer in the law of attraction and manifestation. What's your kind of opinion on it? Or
I mean, I'm not sure I really have an opinion one way or the other. Like,
yeah,
I do know people have done it in the past, and like it's worked.
yeah.
But like there's
So you don't think it's like a big bucket of bullshit?
I don't think it's a big bucket of bullshit. I think there's some power
Yeah.
in
A
like self
smaller bucket of
actualization.
bullshit?
Like if you it's
Yeah,
there's some bullshit in the bucket, but it's like
yeah.
there is the self actualization side of it where you actually do go and like you think you're just manifesting
You
it, but
take,
actually
but you're
subconsciously
actually
you do
taking
start doing
action
the
towards
work.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
because even with like positive self talk and kind of writing stuff down, I think if you're doing that repetitively, then you're kind of putting the ideas in your head, you're planting the seeds, and then obviously you're going to go out and kind of whether you fully realize it or not, as you say, you're going to subconsciously like start
Yeah.
taking action steps towards
You're
doing
doing the
it.
work.
So it's not just like it's not some like magical fucking poof genie.
Yeah. Like you're
You
not
have
gonna wake
this
up,
now.
but
Yeah,
yeah, but like you start changing your lifestyle. Like if you start wanting to get like I don't know have a better lifestyle, a better outlook, you start waking up earlier, you start eating better, and then you start feeling better, and then you're like, oh, that's all the law of attraction. It's like, no, you
man,
did
no, it's
you
not.
did
You
the
did that
work.
yourself.
I've seen
Give
you
yourself
do
more
the
credit.
work.
Yeah,
Like it's like with people that have, well, not even
yeah,
as far as people have strokes, because like that's kind of like an area of interest for me, like stroke rehab and stuff. But
yeah.
like even like a basketball player, could be playing absolutely trash, and they'll do nothing but sit at home and just imagine themselves taking free throw after free throw, like getting it, like, and they'll
Yeah,
visualize themselves getting them, and then in the next match their stats are just through the roof because they did the work, they
it's the
practiced, they
same
got
with
them.
it's the same with I'm not sure if you're familiar. Sorry, apologies for the cough. It's gonna be rampant throughout this
It's gonna,
episode.
it's gonna,
Next
it's
time I'll
gonna
be better.
appear.
I promise.
We'll try and edit it out,
But
but
yeah, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with Conor McGregor's fight against Jose Aldo in 2015. But before that fight, there's like videos showing Conor McGregor like practicing the exact move and kind of when he was going to lay it out on Jose Aldo before the fight. And then
mm,
whenever the fight happened, bang, he did exactly what he was practicing.
he
So it's
borked them.
kind of if you
Yeah,
if you have that visualization and you like kind of repetitively repeat it in your head and kind of take the actions too, I think you're kind of it's kind of one of those feel to prepare, prepare to feel scenarios. Like if
yeah,
your preparation's very good, then I think you have like you're really increasing your chances of doing what you want to do.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think
Some inspiration for
I think
y'all.
we've exhausted that avenue of conversation. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna flip right
that's one of my
back.
favorite avenues of conversation. Yeah,
Everybody's favorite day, Monday. The first thing I read was surprise, surprise, we fucked the climate big time. um,
okay.
but I want to talk less about the whole, reduce your carbon footprint stuff, because I'm sure that's going to be done to death on podcasts that have been recorded around this time. I want to show
Yeah,
you an image that I found on the BBC News website. That is the image they put on it. Some sort of plague doctor looking shit. And I just thought, like, the
how
images
does
just
that
don't seem.
correlate to modern
How
day
how does
society?
that
Yeah,
add? Like, yes,
yeah,
your article here is about the Global Climate Committee, or whoever the fuck it is, has released this report that says, surprise, surprise, you fucked it. But like,
yeah,
that is just plague doctor running through the streets of Victorian London. That doesn't. That's not an
yeah.
image I associate with climate change.
But
So yeah,
funny you mentioned carbon footprint. I actually watched an interesting TED talk. Was it last Monday? I think it was only like 4 minutes long, but it was basically saying why good ideas fall into the valley of death, and a couple of reasons why ideas might fall into the valley of death is number one, they're just not useful, or number two, the cost of them for private investors, or the kind of timelines to get the ideas up and running, or there might just not be like a suitable, or there may just not be demand for that idea at that certain point in time. But then I
yeah,
think one of the industries where ideas falling into the valley of death is kind of rampant at the minute is zero carbon technologies. But then the kind of solution to this was that there can kind of be like government initiatives, like sort of like giving companies who are kind of producing
yeah,
products to kind of get these like zero carbon technologies up and running. The government could provide loans to them. They could
yeah,
also like kind of they could tax like other competitors, like such as fossil fuels and stuff that aren't as efficient, and like through that they can kind of because zero carbon technologies are viewed as like very costly at the minute, they can kind of drive down the prices over time and also up the demand of those kind of technologies as well. And then the talk also kind of went on to like reference like some kind of examples in the past where this has actually worked. So I think the first one was in Germany, where there was companies that were making solar panels, and it was the same kind of scenario where private investors were too they were like too scared to kind of invest in it. So what the government did was they started providing some loans, and they started taxing like
yeah.
fossil
That's it.
fuel
It's all about the money.
alternatives, and that exactly. And then since 2009, I think the price of solar panels has actually dropped 90%. So it just
Yeah,
shows you with government initiatives what can happen. And then
yeah,
it's also the same. I think there was like an oil crisis in Denmark in the 1970s, and the government also did the same with like wind technology and like wind turbines and stuff. So it
yeah.
just shows you like there are steps that can be taken over time.
Yeah, like it does go in to show, like, that report, like it details basically like 4 or 5 different, like, possible futures. Right the way
Yeah,
from what happens if we do nothing, to what happens if we basically today ban fossil fuels from
Yeah,
life, which obviously wouldn't happen because quite a lot of things still rely on
yeah,
them. So it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, we're going to fuck the climate a bit more, so we're going to lose a lot of stuff immediately, but
yeah.
then in the long term we'll still have some stuff. But what you're
We
saying
need
about
we need. Yep.
like renewable or like solar energy and stuff, Tesla actually make quite a lot of their money. If you the companies like car companies, every time they like or as they produce like more economic or more environmentally friendly cars, they get like credits from governments or I don't know exactly how it works, but they get like some sort of credit. So basically,
Yeah,
How Tesla has made a lot of their money is they have sold their credits to companies that aren't making environmentally friendly cars, so that they can keep their quota, because the quota isn't actually you have to make the car, that you have to get the credits, but you can buy the credits from other companies. So they don't actually have to cut their
yeah,
impact, they just have to get the credits. And Tesla obviously only
yeah,
makes electric cars, so Tesla's just fucking swimming in them. And they sell them on. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean,
I
that's
yeah,
the that's the letter. That's like Jimmy Carr and his fucking taxes. Like, he paid what
yeah.
the law says he was supposed to, but not what the law says he should. You know?
Interestingly enough, I was actually watching a video on Elon Musk yesterday, and he reckons that the whole of China could easily be powered by solar.
Oh, it
But the
could.
girl who
It's
was interviewing him, yeah, the girl who was interviewing him, like she wasn't buying it at all. But
just
he's
didn't
just
get
like,
it.
I'm telling you, it can. And then
Okay.
he also did that sit down with I think it's China's richest man, Jack Ma or something is he called, and I think
Oh,
Jack Ma he wasn't he wasn't buying into the idea at all that computers could be smarter than humans, and he was given some really fucking
some
bizarre
okay boomer
reasons that
takes on
just didn't make
things.
sense at all. And if you see Elon's like facial expression, he's just like looking at the camera like, "Is this guy for fucking real?" It's a hilarious video to watch actually.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like really big hitting stories. I don't have many. The rest of it's just kind of. Well,
Yeah.
there's
Did you
some.
watch much of the Olympics?
I didn't watch any of the Olympics, which is kind of strange because
I'm not far behind you. Yeah.
I was very interested in seeing how they would do karate in the Olympics because I trained in it for so long, and then there was a whole big
Yeah.
thing here. I don't know if you heard about it. That was, I think it was in 2010. It was ages ago, or was it the same time as the last Olympics?
No,
I have no
I
clue.
don't think I did that.
But they called it, which is kind of considering uh, the history books. They called it "The K is on the way," which gave me
Is
instant
that
flashbacks of burning crosses and sheets, and I was
oh,
like, I kind of want to support this movement, but like from what it looks like on the face of it, you just didn't think this through very
they,
well. But they
they
basically
need a
meant,
better marketing guy. Yeah.
yeah. But the World Karate Federation was basically like, right, we're going to call this the K is on the way because karate is coming to the Olympics in 2022, and 10 years late, or 2020, and 10 years after when it actually happened, I couldn't be arsed watching it. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So
I
I was
I think
interested to
it's
see how
great
that
that.
went, but
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see any of it.
I think it's great that they kind of got like skateboarding and like BMX riding and stuff into the Olympics as well. I think that's pretty cool. It's nice to
Yeah.
see more sports kind of come into it. So that was interesting. I thought I would have paid more attention to like the boxing or the kind of weightlifting and stuff like that there, but
Yeah, no, I
I'm pretty much like you. I didn't fucking pay
it's
much
like I don't
attention to
yeah,
it at all.
I don't really
Yeah,
pay attention to that sort of stuff during the year, and like I'm
yeah,
sorry about, maybe they are really well versed, but like the BBC and whoever it is have like the same three commentators for every event, and
yeah.
they all talk as if they're experts on it. Oh, she's had a nightmare there. It's like, Dave, I don't think you're an expert on swimming, rowing, football, weightlifting,
Yeah.
gymnastics, and how can you possibly tell that's a nightmare?
And another thing that always fucking kind of grinds my gears as well. Although I have nothing against England, I
The
kind of
Brits,
hate.
they're at it
So
again.
that's kind of a lot of the commentators, because they're from England, they kind of like act as if like all the athletes from England are just like God's gift, and every other kind of athlete behind that is like second to
Yeah.
none.
Well, yeah,
So
that's kind of
I
how we
yeah
get it here. with the way the
Yeah.
broadcasters
Yeah.
are. Um,
Hmm.
I was what did I watch? The only sporting thing I watched was the England versus Italy match, and
Oh yeah.
Italia, molto bene. Even though they did
It's
a few
coming,
dirty
Rome.
tricks,
Yeah.
they grabbed your man by the fucking throat and dropped him. They, but and the commentators just like, sometimes you just got to take the foul to win the game. I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, no, England got their
Yeah.
ass kicked there, so I'm happy enough.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a controversial opinion or not. Come at me, I guess. Um, one thing I will say,
I
sort of
thought.
big news, or you go ahead.
Yeah. I don't. I don't think it was so much that people over here don't like England. I think it's more just the fact that England wouldn't stop fucking talking about it for months after if they did win, and I think it was just
Yeah,
fry everybody's heads. You know,
like
that's
it
pretty much
is
all I have to say
obviously
on that.
a big thing for them because if you look back, like England is the first country to ever have played football. And it's just quite
Yeah.
funny that since they gave it to the rest of the world, they've been consistently the worst at it. Um, but that's just us. Another thing, really the only serious bit of news, and then we can start talking about movies and nerdy stuff. Well, this is actually kind of
Yeah.
nerdy.
No worries.
But basically now, photos that this won't apply to you because you're an Android man. Um, but I'm deep in the Apple ecosystem here. So basically, any of my photos that are stored in um, iCloud, and I assume only iCloud at the minute, will be subject to being scanned for child porn, which is fine by me because I don't have any child
Yeah.
porn on my phone. But the way they're doing it,
That's
like there
glad to
is a
hear
whole
that.
there's a whole white paper about it, and I had planned to read it before I talked about it, but I didn't. But I think the gist of how it works is the FBI or whoever has like a list of images, like a database.
Hmm.
It's all hashed, like it's not human readable. And basically, Apple will scan your phone and hash all your images with the same algorithm, and then basically just check all that fuck up, and then just check all your hashes against that
Hmm.
database, and then only if they see a certain number of similarities will they then crack open your account and actually look at the pictures.
Yeah.
Um, so there's people that
Okay.
are
So
obviously very pro privacy, but like that's disgraceful. But also
yeah.
people that are very pro not having their children get exploited. That are
Yeah.
very this is thanks for this.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on it? Because obviously, there's like when I talk
So
to you, I know that I don't have to explain what a hash is and why it isn't exactly the
yeah.
same as opening your phone. Um,
No, I think it's like a that was going to be my question kind of before you mentioned that, like do they know who the pictures belong to instantaneously, but kind of no, I think it's a very good initiative. I think yeah, I'd be for that idea, but that then again I was just thinking about like all those people who might have like kind of nude pictures of their like spouse or something like that there, they might kind of they might kind of be a bit shooken up by that. They're like,
yeah,
fuck, what if some motherfucker is gonna go in and just like exploit pictures that I've
yeah,
taken of myself or something like that there too. But
yeah. I
if
think
you're saying it's only kind of matching against those hashes for kind of like child
already
images
known images, yeah.
specifically, then yeah,
But then that
then
sort of brings in another
that
thing to it,
yeah.
like, well, why? Like, obviously, this is the thing I saw it mentioned on Reddit around the issue that most child predators don't use the surface web anyway, so
Yeah.
won't be storing their photos in iCloud for this to real. So the only people that are going to get scanned
Yeah.
is everyday Joes like you and me, who and
Yeah.
obviously if the images aren't already in the FBI's database, they're never going to find a match on the hashes. If you are a
Yeah.
nefarious actor and
I
you have taken brand new pictures, they're not going to
yeah.
find them.
I I think you'd be surprised though. Although, as you, I'd probably agree with you that most child predators probably aren't on the like vanilla internet,
Yeah.
like so to speak. I would say there probably is some dumb motherfuckers
Will we
who
get
would.
Kevin
There
Curran
probably
on the next
is. Yeah.
episode
Here,
to
that's a
talk
shout
about
for
it?
a future podcast. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't think we have enough to pay him. But
Yeah. Yet.
yeah, no, that's really
Yet.
all I wanted to say about. Well, it's not really all I wanted to say about it. Obviously, as it goes on and develop, because I haven't put anything into it. Well, I'll maybe develop an update. I'll read the white paper at some
Yeah.
point and maybe chat about it in the
I
next
wonder. I
episode.
wonder. I wonder if anything kind of similar is coming to Android.
Well, Google are
But
very
that's
big
the first
with.
I've ever heard about that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Google are very big with with Google Lens and stuff, and so maybe they'll like analyze pictures to try and see. Because like we were at an aquarium in Scotland, and
Mhm.
I saw a fish, and like they must have moved them about just recently because like the label at the side of the tank was not what was in it. And like on this
Mhm.
live fish, I just got Google Lens up and I was like, just tapped on it and I was like, here, this is one of whatever this fish is. So I think they're making big steps in terms of
Yeah.
being able to just like look at an image and be like, that's a Wayne. So you never know.
Yeah.
Google could be leading the
No,
charge.
I no, I definitely think it is a good idea, but obviously there's like some kind of dodgy spaces around that as well. Like I
Yeah,
can see like other people's kind of privacy concerns too, but
there are the privacy
the
concerns
hashing thing's
because
a good
there's always
idea.
the
Yeah.
argument of everyone always says, oh well, sir, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. But like
Uh,
that's not the point.
yeah.
I don't want the police monitoring my phone just in case I decide one day to commit a crime. Like that's
Yeah.
when you're into the police state, like if getting followed around dystopian future. Like oh yes, we know where everyone is at all
Mhm.
times, which they already do with tracking and stuff. But
Yeah.
we're not here to put tinfoil hats on people. You
Yeah.
believe what you want to believe. um, like
So
I
something's
think
just actually popped in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I think there is some sort of people are too easy, too quick to be like, oh, the corporations are all bad. But like if like the corporations have to have some, well, you would think, and I kind of believe, maybe I'm being naive, but corporations kind of do have to have a bit of, oh yeah, we are only doing what we say we're doing because if it comes out that they're not, like with Facebook and stuff. Like it came out that they weren't
Yeah.
using data in the way they said they were, and there was big backlash. Though their platform didn't suffer at all for it, they just paid a wee fine, and that was them because the audience is all
Yeah.
like 85 years old and didn't understand what exactly it meant that Facebook had sold all their information. And the
One
people
thing
that
I
did
will say
care
about
don't use it. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I will say about the fucking adverts is sometimes I'll be looking for some clothes and I'll be browsing through all the websites and I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck, I can't
can't
find it.
find anything.
I can't find exactly what I'm looking for. Then I'll go on Facebook and I'll find like an advert with like something better than what I was looking for.
Yep,
That's one time where ads actually can be useful.
that is where it can be useful. But like I'm always like,
Yeah.
it depends what mood I'm in. Some days, like obviously you get up to things and you're like, oh, agree to cookies, don't agree to cookies. And sometimes just for the sake of it, I will press, let me read more about this, and then it comes up with all the wee sliders, and I turn them all off. And then I go ahead about my
Hmm.
day, just for like I could use an ad blocker, I could use a private browser. No, I just want to make sure that you're not doing anything. And sometimes
Yeah.
I just go and delete all the cookies just for the fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. If you don't have
I
any
kind
big,
of.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you what are your thoughts on Neuralink?
Um, I don't really have any thoughts on it. I haven't really thought about it. This Papa Musk, isn't it?
Yeah,
Going into
I
the
think it's an
cyberpunk future.
I think it's an interesting idea, and I think their kind of starting point is sort of targeted at like quadriplegic people or
Yeah,
whatever, like people who are paralyzed, so that they can kind of like interact with computers and stuff through their eyes, which I
yeah.
think
I think that
could
is
be a very good
a
use.
good way to use
Yeah,
it. I think a lot of people
yeah.
hear about these things like, "Oh, I'll never do that here. That's unnatural." And there's 90% chance you're not the target
Wait,
market anyway, Steve.
this my kind of opinion on it is already, and this might sound very fucking whack, but my kind of view on it is we are already essentially cyborgs. Like your phone is
Yeah,
basically an extension of yourself.
like
Like
wearable tag and stuff.
without a phone and the internet, you're at such a disadvantage kind of in today's life, and people might disagree and think like they're like freer because they can like kind of get away from their phone and like social media and stuff like that there,
Yeah,
which is probably true. But I think like knowledge wise, you can really be at a disadvantage if you don't have like instant access to
yeah.
the internet to just like look something up. You know?
Well, I think it's like everything. Like it's handy. Like
Yeah.
we've all become accustomed to a certain standard of life. You hear from the boomers and stuff. Like everybody I know over the age of 40 does not keep their phone on them. Like if they
Hmm.
go somewhere, it's in a bag, it's in their coat, and they take the coat off and leave it from them. But like with us, we would have it in our pocket or even in our hand.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
because like those previous generations, like they adapted to the phone. The
Yeah.
phone did.
Whereas
They
we
didn't
were
come up
kind of
with it.
we were
Well,
kind of born with
even with
that.
us, like all this is all rapidly like this was sort of come into how it is now as we were like already kind of half grown.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Like
that's true actually.
the
Yeah.
stuff Wayne's are running about with now, I couldn't conceive of even at the age of 12. But now,
Yeah.
like kids are growing up with it. It's rapidly evolved recently because like whenever we
Like
were growing up, it was like
TikTok,
flip
that
phones and
that shit
stuff.
just blew up. Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
It's
Yeah.
nuts.
That's everything I have for big news, like sort of cosmic news. I want to talk about
Yeah.
next thing on my list is Suicide Squad and as a compare and contrast, Black Widow. How did
Okay.
you think, in your opinion, the Suicide Squad? How what was that like for you? Did you
So
watched the first one, didn't you?
yeah, yeah, I've seen the
Yeah.
first one.
So compared to the
So for
first one,
me,
how did you find it?
I found it immensely better than the first one. It was surprisingly gory for me. There was some scenes in it that made me surprised it wasn't rated 18 instead of 15.
Yeah.
And it's not like big fucking whoop. It doesn't matter at all. But it was very gory, and I definitely did enjoy it a lot more than the first one. It had my attention a lot more. The kind of the plot was kind of more believable until the fucking
More
end,
believable
where
until the big bad came out.
until
Um,
until the big
well,
bad came out. But
we'll try not to spoil it, but like my first point here
yeah, yeah,
does spoil, but doesn't really spoil it.
yeah, yeah.
But my first point here is that the big bad is a bit ridiculous. But on reading
What
reviews and stuff,
is that big bad in the comics? I don't know
I don't
because I
know.
haven't read the
I've
comics
never
on
read
it.
them.
So
Uh, but funny enough, as you said it there, like you were surprised how gory it was. You were surprised sort of how much it didn't care about
yeah,
what, and that's what critics are saying. That's why it worked because James Gunn just
yeah,
went in and he was like, I know this is ridiculous. I know this is balls to the wall gory. I know that these jokes that these boys are making aren't landing all the time, but for what it is, it's the Suicide Squad. It's organization
it's
through chaos. Um,
I think yeah, it's meant to be kind of messy because that's the whole
yeah,
premise
that's
of
the
the
whole point
movie.
of
Like
them.
these guys are literally prone to fucking death at any point.
Yeah,
You know?
like Harley
Yeah,
Quinn. Like even if you see through the DC or not the DC, the Rocksteady Batman, the Arkham games, like she's in them a
yeah,
lot too, and like that's one of the widely regarded as like the most successful Batman IP ever. Like not even in terms
yeah,
of games, but like in general, like the best DC thing are those Batman games, except for Arkham Origins that we don't talk about.
yeah.
Um,
One thing I will say, Margot Robbie, you looking fine.
you looking fine. When you stop fucking with that Quentin Tarantino bit, you hit me up. Um, but yeah, no, like that's
But yeah, no, it was definitely enjoyable.
like I do
I wouldn't
have
say it's the
yeah. No, go ahead.
it's not the best movie.
It's not
It's
the
not
best
the
movie I've
best
ever
movie
seen.
I've ever seen, but it
Um,
was immensely better than the first one by far.
well, I will say that like Metacritic wise, I do have the numbers kind of roughly. Um, the opinion polls for the first movie had a Metascore of 40. The second one had a
Okay,
Metascore of 73. Um, and the first
quite a
one,
jump.
the
Yeah,
original had 942 negative reviews. That's user and critic combined.
critics. Yeah.
And the recent one only had 77 negative reviews. So it's definitely been seen in a better light. But
Then then again, there's been more time elapsed like since the first one came out, so that leaves more time
well, there's
for
that too.
negative
For more people
reviews.
to see it and
Yeah,
give bad reviews. That's true. But
yeah,
I think in general, like critic
yeah. I
scores and
mean that
stuff.
those ratings are quite a jump. Yeah,
Critic scores anyway. It's a 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb, and the first one was only 6.4 or something. No, 5
yeah.
point something. Anyway, another movie we've seen recently. I don't know if you've seen it anymore, but we saw Black Widow as well.
Hmm.
Compared to Suicide Squad, because obviously there's nothing else to like Marvel wise to compare it to. Compared to Suicide Squad, how obviously the new one. How did you find Black Widow?
Um. So I enjoyed both of the movies. I don't know if I could say. I maybe enjoyed Suicide Squad slightly more just for the silly, sort of goofy, fucking
Yep.
gory violence. But I think Black Widow like kind of gave you exactly what you kind of expected from a Marvel movie. Maybe it felt a bit rushed at points, but no, I definitely enjoyed it, and I'll also say Scarlett Johansson. You also looking for?
When you stop fucking around with that man, you fucking with, hit me up. Um, so numbers wise, it actually did
Mhm.
1.1 points worse than Suicide Squad did. It only got a 6.8,
Okay.
which I was
Yep.
kind of surprised at because I thought like it was all like it was all within the realm of Marvel. It was sort of in that darker direction. Because Suicide Squad kind of had that too. It was like it was a very military-esque movie. Like they were both kind of similar
Mhm.
in tone for me right at the start, I thought, but then obviously Suicide Squad just got bonkers.
Fucking
And
more and more chaotic. Yeah.
yeah, but and
Yeah.
then Black Widow was more kind of realistic in how it was sort of resolved, if you can call mind control through the air realistic. Um, Mind control through pheromones that science has proven doesn't exist. Realistic. Um, or maybe I don't know.
I mean,
I'm
was it
not up to
intended
date
to
with
be realistic?
pheromone science.
But
Pheromone science
me neither.
isn't my bag, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it's crap. Um, but Black Widow had 196 negative user reviews compared to Suicide Squad 77
Mm.
at the time of
Yeah.
gathering my stats, and they've been out for roughly the same amount of time. So I think it left
I
a lot
don't.
of people disappointed.
Maybe it's because it didn't like do anything like kind of new like out of the bag. Like it
Yeah,
was just kind of it just felt like a big like kind of blockbuster Marvel movie.
yeah.
But that's what they're going for as well, I suppose. So
Like
it's kind of
I didn't read what the negative user reviews are, so it could very well be that the people like the movie but want to tank the reviews because Disney are screwing my gal Scarlett out of money.
oh yes,
I
that's
don't
also
know.
true.
That could be it. I mean, I'm good enough to go through and check the stats, but I'm not good enough to check that they're low because the movie's shite or because people just don't like Disney, the big bad Disney. Who, actually, funny enough, this isn't on my list and it's not really relevant to anything else. But Disney, despite being hit the worst by the pandemic, have turned over in the last 3 months over $325 million in Disneyland alone, and 119
In
million paid
Disneyland,
Disney, yeah,
wow,
Disneyland's alone, and then in paid
Jesus,
Disney Plus subscribers over 119 million, of which we are
that's
because it's just
yeah,
so
yeah.
damn
I'm
good.
one of them. It is. I mean,
I want my Monsters Inc.
you've access to everything. You know.
Yeah, I want my Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
That's it. Um,
That's interesting. Out of Disneyland alone, damn
yeah,
that's
it's
crazy fucking
crazy.
numbers.
Um,
Yeah.
and something else slightly lighter, but well, lighter for us, but not for the dude that it happened to. I saw a post on Reddit. A guy, his landlord was like bipolar or schizophrenic or something, and locked him out of his house and destroyed his gaming PC with his RTX 3080 Founders Edition in it because he was convinced he was a government spy because he was a computer science graduate. The poor guy. These graphics cards are going for like, well, their MSRP is at $600 or $700, but you know as well as I do that that's very hard to get for that price. I think their MSRP is 400 or 500.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure. But this dude, he's paid at least $1,000 to get this graphics card, and this dude, his landlord, is just taking his PC and fucked it in the bath. That's a pity he didn't get it first.
Oh, Jesus.
Um, but I was just blown away. I was like, oh, like of all the like, imagine
It just
the year or two that's been going on. He's just graduated as like from his course, which you and I both know. Like in final year, fully remote is totally like it's an achievement and a half. Like getting to grips with it.
yeah.
And you finally graduate. You're on your summer. You go out to work to make a few bob. You come back and your landlord locked you out of the house and thrown your PC in the fucking bath.
Just shows you, man. You can be at the wrong place at a really fucking bizarre time.
The poor guy. Oh,
Yeah.
there was a big update from him in the comments, but I think they went through the police and got like insurance and stuff. So like they're he's grand. He's getting his stuff replaced, I think. But it's like just imagine every fucking day there is some kind of
Sort of
fucking
fucking handling.
handling. Oh, I laughed a bit more than I should have had it. But anyway, um,
That's it.
taking to Instagram now, unless you have anything to add, anything, any
Nope.
like of
Nope.
your
Go away.
people. So I put up a poll on a poll question on my Instagram, basically telling them that I had my little list of talking points. But is there anything that they think I might not cover, or anything that they would want our opinions on? Myself and
Okay.
Diogenes here, okay. Um, uh, one of the one of the sort of really relevant ones was working from home versus working from work.
Okay.
I mean, I think I know your opinion on it, and we're kind of both the same. It's
Yeah.
as far as I can keep me away from other people, unless I really, really need to be
Yeah.
there. Um, but I guess there is something also in the fact that if depending on what the job is, like obviously, some yeah, like if you're working in a cafe, you have to work from work because you can't pour someone a coffee over fucking
Fucking
Discord.
lobbing tea across
Yeah,
houses and
up
shit.
to you. Hey, go and get them. Um, but like if it's something like software like stuff that we're in and that we
Mhm.
do, obviously I don't know if people want to leave messages on Anchor about how it would imply for their jobs, but I think it's good if you kind of know what you're doing, or if you're doing something that you can have a lot of independence with. But if it is something you're new to, like if you're getting trained on a new system or a new something, it does help to be able to be in the office and go like, hey sir, what am I doing here, rather than having to like send a
That.
message and then maybe the dude's away walking his dog
Yeah.
or something, or and he takes ages to reply. um
Yeah. And it could
yeah.
be like very, it could be like a very critical piece of work for you. That no, as you say, I really enjoy working from home, and it kind of I found for me anyway, it kind of like decreases a lot of like anxieties and stuff like that there. But at the same time, as you were saying, if you are kind of like new to like a system or maybe like a new programming language, or you don't really understand like the kind of like low level like how a project works or something like that, and you have like a lot of questions that you want to ask, you can kind of feel bad that you're like kind of spamming people over
Yep.
messages. Whereas if
Yeah.
you're in the office, you can literally just go hi, fucking answer me, you know.
Answer me, you bigger knees.
But no,
Yeah.
that's kind of the one downfall of it. But everything else, I would kind of be a
Yeah.
fan of working
It
remotely.
is a good thing. Like I haven't really worked remotely. Like the only real experience I have of work from home, it wasn't a job. It was just final year and at
Yeah,
uni, and obviously that's quick enough because once you get onto your project, you're kind of sort of self-paced with how fast you're doing stuff, and
yeah.
lectures and not lectures are easy
It's
enough.
also up to you because no one's going
It's
to give
up
you
to you.
help.
That's it. No one's going to give you help.
Yeah,
But and when you
just
do need
YouTube.
help, it is there, and it's sort of the
Yeah,
same sort of ways you would do. Like if you're in the office and you were doing
mm.
something, you got stuck, you would go to Google anyway, and you can Google at office, you can Google at home. So
Stack Overflow.
by and large, I
Yeah,
don't really see any difference. But I mean, for me,
yeah.
like the only job I ever had where I worked from home was the last few months of placement. And
Hmm.
I'd say in that environment, the way everything was set up, it really was a detriment because with like in the office it was fine because the way it worked, like an email came in, and then we would like it was an Outlook, so we could like right click on the email and give it a like I was the yellow category, so if I put a yellow category on an email, nobody would touch it. But then
Hmm.
because everything was over the VPN, so it had to go from me to the router to the VPN to the exchange to the my PC and the like that sort of stuff. There was a
Yeah.
big lag, so I would put mine on it and go and do the request, and then I'd come back to delete the email, and everybody else on the team would have put their name on it too, and then we'd be on
Hmm.
the we'd be on the Jabber say like, oh, did you do that one? I was doing that one, like it took it, and then there was just like a whole lot of things like with remote PCs and like my PC was off on in the office, and I was working like remote desktop, so my PC being on in the office made everyone think I was online when I wasn't. Like, why were you online at 4 a.m.? I was like, I wasn't. I turned this thing off, but my PC in the office, I didn't turn that off, so that then
Okay.
had me online at 4 a.m. So then it looked like I was online and I wasn't online, and I was online when I wasn't.
Hmm.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah,
So like at
it can be
that
a bit
point,
of a
I was like, this
clusterfuck.
working from home is terrible. But I think like I had a few ideas for them, but obviously government work and stuff uh,
Yeah,
changes
yeah.
changes take
But
ages.
uh, maybe I misheard you there. But did you say sometimes there was like some confusion between who was going to pick up a ticket or something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
like
So
I would
I
pick it up
mean,
and
yeah.
then I would pick it up and
But
then go to finish it, and somebody else would have it
yeah,
picked up too.
yeah. So whenever you're doing that, whenever you kind of like start your new job, you'll probably be using Jira anyway. So that'll probably solve that.
It better, because like that was my whole plan. My whole plan was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, how about like we sort of rewrite this little bit of the system so that instead of sending it to all of
Uh,
us, it just looks at who's online and then just chooses one of us and tells us this is yours. But obviously,
yeah.
the time it would take to implement that system and stuff, and like working from home and getting everybody laptops and sort, it wasn't right at the time.
Yeah.
So I think now that all the kinks have been worked out, I think working from home is a good idea. But I
Hmm.
think probably maybe companies and stuff shouldn't half-ass it. It shouldn't be sort of a, oh right, well sure you have laptops now, you can go and work from home, because then there's obviously you know yourself the infrastructure challenges of, oh well, the VPN can't support everyone working from home, so some people are going to have to come in with some work from home, and or once we get an upgrade
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
VPN or change the servers or something. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's pretty. It's a good idea. And like I know on the civil service, I'm going back to civil service. Like everyone thinks I just carry a flag for the place, living rent free. But they're like one of Northern Ireland's oldest companies, and now they've laid all the infrastructure. They're like, you know what? Let's just do this forever. um, so
They're
yeah,
set in their ways.
it is the future. It's the future now. I think working from home, because so many companies can do it that there is really no excuse. Like, yeah, it's good to have the big office, and
Yeah.
obviously where it's not secure to do things over, like obviously still government buildings, like real top secret stuff will probably still do it all over LAN in the office, because the internet is
Yeah.
inherently insecure, no matter how many providers you have providing security. But I think for by and large, like just pushing updates to a website that checks if you've got your prescriptions in the pharmacy, you can
Yeah.
just do that from home.
Just to add to that, actually, I was reading a book called "Not a Life Coach" by James Smith, who's a personal trainer. Shout out to James Smith. Go
Shout
and
out.
watch his content and buy his book. Top
You're
guy.
campaigning hard for the sponsors here, son.
I'm not. I just really like James Smith, and his book is very good. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, he kind of talks about it, and I think he actually put this in an article online as well. He kind of like if imagine you could like well, we can work remotely now, but like imagine you could like kind of like work remotely from like a different country, because I know a lot of companies, although they let you work remotely, they kind of have rules that you need to be in like a certain mile radius to the office. Bless
Bless
you.
me. Thank you.
Um, but he kind of said like imagine the incentive you would kind of have to do a good job if you were like allowed to work remotely from like Spain or something. Like you get up early, you like get in your fucking hours of work, and then you just go and chill by the pool or whatever. You know that
Yeah.
like it's taking work life balance to like a whole new kind of level. So I thought that was an interesting idea as well.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, it is the way of the future. It's sort of a lot of companies and stuff now are realizing, oh damn, all the things we were saying, you have to come in. That's kind of balls.
Yeah,
So I think work from home is where it's going, but I think a lot of places
yeah,
do also see like the use of the office. Like if you're in a home situation where maybe it's not going so well, because life isn't perfect for everybody. People have
yeah,
issues. If you're in a situation where you're fighting day in day out with the wife, or the kids are always making noise, and you're trying to get a really important project done, it is important that there is a space somewhere for you to go and do your shit.
yeah.
And if
It
you
means
can't
you
get
can
the
kind of
piece,
separate
yeah.
life from work. Yeah.
And if yeah, like because even in final year uni, like for the first semester, it really did take a toll on my mental health.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah,
worked,
yeah,
slept, and ate in the same
yeah.
3 meter square.
It, yeah,
Because
it
like
felt like I
yeah,
was just like fucking living and breathing university. Yeah,
yeah, like you got up, like obviously then, but well, it wasn't all semester one, because obviously I had the house near campus, so like that was
yeah,
good because we could go
yeah.
downstairs and stuff during the day and chill out. But whenever we moved home,
Mhm.
when there was that big like whole lockdown in that in the Derry area, and I was like, oh, bye.
Yeah,
Um, and we all moved back. There was like a period of 2 or 3 months where like the lectures were more or less every other day, from 9 a.m. to like 3 p.m. So I was like getting out of
Yeah.
bed at 9, then going down to get something to eat for lunch, but having to come back because they didn't give you barely any time to make lunch, so you had to eat it whilst listening to the rest of the lecture. And then like maybe
Yeah.
you got behind with the notes or the practical took too long, and then you had to go and get your dinner. So you were maybe out of the room like once or twice. But then after that was all done, like, oh, the lads are hopping on for games. Oh, back to the desk I was sitting at for 4 hours this morning to play games for
Yeah.
2 hours. To then after that, oh, we'll have uni again tomorrow morning, so I better get to bed here now, 2 meters away from my fucking desk that I've been sitting at for 12 hours all day.
Yeah.
And that was the thing because we ran. Well, I was helping run the society for computing and engineering last year, and like we were
Yeah.
very, very, very optimistic with things. Like in the middle of that whole sort of me having that kind of I don't want to say mental episode because I don't feel like it was like a real big issue because
Yeah.
I wasn't in any big way over it, and I don't want to just take away from people with real issues. But like that mental sort of haze of mine, like we were in the middle of that organizing like an Among Us game night with the whole society, and like we all just kind of had a bit of a chat. We're like, we could, like there's no point in doing this because we wanted to do things like meet up in person and program Arduinos and build things and actually like have that collaborative like that engineering, because like I know like we're from a computing background, but it really does interest me, like you know yourself, like I like to fucking take things apart and see if I can make this work by sticking that into it. So it was like a big thing. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what the society's going to be. We're going to build up. We're going to have projects. Like we bought a Subaru. Well, Harley bought a Subaru, and we were going to like fix that up and stuff. And we were like my old car that doesn't go anymore. We were going to like take that right apart, like right down, get the engine out of it, run it on the desk, so like you can see how the engine worked and stuff. But we couldn't do any of that because we couldn't meet up with enough people because like
Yeah.
engines are heavy. You can't meet two people standing 2 meters apart. Like you need a whole crew. And so like the whole thing was falling
Yeah.
apart. It was just coming down to doing the same thing every other society was doing, and like everybody was just sick of it at that point. Like they were online 12 hour, like 5 hours, 6 hours a day for lectures, and then we were asking them to come on every night again for something else to sit in Discord and like it
Yeah.
just really
I'm
did take
gonna
away from it.
interject 2 seconds. I'm just
Yep.
gonna close my window because the guy started cutting the grass.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's grand. Da 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 da. He stopped.
That he is
The
closed.
window was
Really
already
fucking
closed. He's just
noise.
making a big noise.
But
But
to
yeah,
kind of
so
add to your point as well, um, yeah, no, I 100% agree with everything you were saying. It did feel like you were kind of just living, eating, shitting, breathing, working uni, and I think I went for like months without even like meeting up with yourself or like any of my other friends as
yeah,
well. Like I think some of my friends I hadn't like really seen in like a year, and I think like my even my family and stuff were like kind of saying to me like, "Oh, look, this isn't healthy. You're like kind of
yeah.
doing too much for uni. You need to take a." Even you, I remember you saying to me multiple times,
Wise up, would you?
like you you need to take a fucking break, or
Sounds like you
else
need
you're
to
gonna
wise up
burn
a wee bit.
yourself out.
Yeah,
And
it was like second week.
I
Yeah, it was like
yeah.
second week of semester
I,
one. You were like halfway through the back end of your project, and you're like, "Man, I don't have enough done. This is terrible." I was like, "I haven't even created my project yet."
but
Calm down.
yeah, but yeah, like I did burn out towards the second semester,
Yeah,
although I kind of got it back at the end. But overall, looking back, I'm thinking, oh, it like paid off because I did do well. But
yeah.
at the same
You
time,
got.
at the same
Probably would
time,
have
I
did well if you
probably
calmed
could
down.
have. Yeah, that's what I was getting towards. Like I probably could have done maybe just as well without the worry and the stress, like going into that
Yeah.
as well. So yeah.
Well, sometimes the worry and the stress, you can't help it. Like there are things you're
Oh
going to
yeah,
be worried
for me,
about.
oh
Um,
yeah, I'm just neurotic as fuck.
just
I talk about one
homie.
thing and I just find something else.
Yeah.
It does
Um.
drive you though. It is a good
Well,
driver.
it is a good driver, yeah. Thinking you're not going to get it done, and then realizing obviously whenever you do look at it, like you think don't do a lot every
That's
day.
only the first week.
Yeah, but like if you do a lot, if you do a little bit every day, and then you're like, oh fuck this and close it. But as long as you've done something, because I noticed it at the end. I got to the end, I was like, right, I need to really get this game in shape here, and like the actual game was really as far as it was going to come in the time frame that we had, and I was like, how is this like
Yeah,
done? I haven't done anything on. I never did anything on this. I always opened this and closed it like 5 minutes after, but in those five
yeah.
minutes, I always did something. So then like it comes
And
together slowly.
yeah, did you also kind of feel, and I had this a lot, like even whenever I had kind of done everything that I kind of laid out that I was going to do with my project, I felt so fucking underwhelmed with it. Like there was
Yeah, you're like
barely
this
any
is going to be a big
functionality to
thing.
it.
is going to be a
yeah,
big thing, and I'm going to get all this done, and then you do it
yeah.
all, and then you're like, oh, but it was actually really easy to do all that. I could probably put more in.
And then,
But
whenever I went to present it, I'm like, I'm gonna have nothing to talk about. But then
yeah,
when I did the actual presentation, they had to cut me off because
yeah,
I
just
was
chat
talking too
away.
long. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I was the same. I think I got two because I got the game done, and then I was like, right, well, I could add more to this, but by the time I start it and stuff, then I'm really getting deep into it, and I won't maybe finish this other thing that I kind of
Yeah.
want to show as well, which I think was kind of what mine suffered from because I kind of strayed a bit too far from the brief, and then what I presented, I spent more time talking about something that wasn't even in the scope.
Hmm. Yeah.
So they were kind of like, yeah, that API is great and all, but like, you were supposed to make an exercise game. Anything about
Yeah.
that?
I
And I was like,
I focused on the UX kind of design way too much for mine. Whenever I could have like spent that time implementing new features as well. But
yeah.
yeah,
But anyway, I digress. So I think
we survived.
we've landed on work from home is good when you can do it well. When you do have the spaces to still have like an office and a bedroom and somewhere like places that you can chill
You can
in.
differentiate between the two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you start chilling in the same place, like of it, like if you're using the same, well, obviously you use the same computer to like watch movies and stuff as you would to work. But then if you're doing that, you're like, oh well, this is my work machine, but it's also my relaxing machine. But it's also in my bedroom, but it's also in my fucking kitchen where I eat here because I eat here now. And so I think if you have the
What's the
space,
phrase? You don't eat where you shit. Is that it?
don't
Something like
eat where
that.
you don't shit where you eat.
Well,
Yeah.
some motherfuckers might, but I don't.
Yeah, no, so I think when you do it right, work from home is obviously going to be the future. But where you can't, like
Yeah.
where people live in flats and stuff, like by them, I think is where they'll want to return more to the office because your home is kind of when you have a small house, like especially if you live in the city, like up in Belfast, like if your house is where you relax at, and if you have a small house because they're expensive in most cities, like you only have one or two rooms, and you shit in one, you eat in one, and then you sleep in the other one. Like there's nowhere to put an office, so they're gonna creep in on top of each other, and you kind of want to have them
Yeah.
separate because you don't
Yeah.
you want to work to live, not live to work. What you always say.
Yeah.
And if you are
I
living
love that
where
phrase. Yeah.
if you live where you work, you will find it increasingly hard because like I know my mom downstairs, and I always lose the bap at her. Like work day in her job is if you come in at 7, if you come in at 8, you can leave at like 4 or 5 or something.
Mhm.
Or if you come in at as long as you work your core hours,
Yeah. 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 It's
she will
flexible enough. Yeah.
yeah she will start at 7 and she will work to half 6.
I'm guilty of that too. Not 7. Your mum's fucking crazy,
And
but
I'm just
some
like,
yeah.
well, sometimes some days she goes swimming, so she'll start at
Yeah.
8 those days, but then she'll
Yeah.
keep working to half 6. But then she does this thing. She takes time off. She goes and says, "I have these hours to take off. I would like to take them off, please." And then she'll
Hmm.
fucking work just periodically throughout the time that she's supposed to be off. And I'm like, why are you using
Yeah.
your leave if you're going to sit there working? Like, yeah, you're still going to get paid, but like, you don't have the leave and you've sat and
Yeah.
worked anyway. Um, so
Yeah.
that creep is real, and obviously if you can separate it, like some room that you don't need to go into other than to work, so you just walk away and leave it for the night, is ideal. Um, but
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, so work from home is the future if you can properly, and working from work is the future if home is just one room where you can't separate things, because when you can't separate things you will get that creep of
Work
working
will
late,
consume
late,
your
late, late,
life.
late. Yeah, working through you'll be
Yeah.
living to work and not working to live, my G. And that's kind of all I have to say about that topic. I don't know if you've got anything to add. I don't know
No, no,
if
I think we've pretty much
we've
covered it.
covered it.
Yeah.
Nothing really insightful, like that isn't already known, but just some personal
Yeah.
experiences from myself and Diogenes here. All right, one final thing that I think we should finish off on, and we talked
Okay.
about this. This kind of nearly creeped its head earlier, but we kind of kept it down. The English.
Where's this going?
So Charles and Diana's. Have you heard of the Charles and Diana's wedding cake thing?
No.
Right, so there was a piece of their wedding cake because obviously they're royals and they have all this money from the taxpayers and stuff. When Charles and Diana got
Yeah.
married, there were like 20 or 30 official wedding cakes made.
Hmm.
40 years ago, mind you. Someone that was either in attendance at it or someone in one of the like royal kitchens or whatever kept a slice,
Hmm.
and it's been recently found still sort of preserved because it's like 900% sugar, so it's fine.
I
How
wouldn't eat
much?
that.
How much did some absolute?
Oh, did it auction?
Yeah. How much did some absolute spoon pay for it?
5 million.
Not quite. No. It's one slice of cake. They estimated it would go.
What 100,000?
Well, the auctioneers estimated it would go for £500 because like, it's a 40
Yeah.
year old slice of cake that you're probably not going to eat anyway. They estimated it would go for £500. It's sold for nearly four
Okay.
times that. It's sold for £1,850. So some dude now, or some doll, or some other, has a piece of cake that they cannot eat. That they
Well, they
paid
can.
nearly.
It just might
Well, they
not.
can eat
It
it.
just might end
So
bad.
that they should not eat. That they paid nearly £2,000 for. Did you ever in your life?
That's Jesus. Yeah, that's weird.
like,
Yeah.
so
I'd understand like buying like a really expensive guitar that was like maybe owned by
yeah,
Jimi Hendrix or like George
something
Harrison or
like that.
something,
Yeah,
yeah. But
but
a
no,
piece of cake,
but no,
that's
yeah,
fucking wild.
piece
Yeah.
of cake. Um, yeah, but actually, no, something else I do kind of want to talk about as well because
Okay.
it's happened
Go for
recently.
it.
I feel like I'm just like interjecting here and throwing up millions of
No,
things
go
that
for
you
it.
have
Go
absolutely
for it.
no idea about wanting to talk about. But so we
Well,
talked.
mate, I'm learning.
We were
Yeah.
talking yesterday, not yesterday. We were talking earlier on in this very podcast, about like sudden deaths that some of them aren't so sudden. Like you hear they've got some sort of illness, and then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and Eddie Van Halen came up, and
Hmm.
we would be amiss talking about Eddie Van Halen if we didn't also talk about Wolfgang Van Halen. Um,
Go for it.
who
Yeah.
like I'm not sure how much of a fan you are of his stuff after having maybe listened to it for a bit
Yeah.
more, but
See,
I like
see,
it's not like I'm not entirely vibing with a lot of it yet because it's not a sound that I'm
yeah.
all that used to, like his kind of sound. So I'm kind of like letting stuff grow on me still. But he does have some bops that I like stick on
Yeah.
and stuff. But he's supposed to be on tour with his band makes up Tremonti's old drummer Garrett, who dropped off for a bit of a mental health day or a week or two, I think, off Tremonti, and that's why he's now in that band. Frank Sidoris, the guitarist from
Hmm.
Slash's touring band, um, and then two other guys. But they were supposed to be playing a few shows, and they've had to cancel them because one of the touring personnel has got the Rona. So my
Yes.
it's not really a question. It's do you think really is the sort of the catalyst now for Rona going to be when music turn starts up again? Is it going to be bands bringing it with them from places to places, or is it still going to be us, the crowd, that are going to bring it in? Like, is it going to
Um,
it's going to shift from people being
I
irresponsible, not wearing masks, to the bands that actually go to these places, bringing it with them?
so um, well, to start off with, I love concerts, and I had a lot of concerts booked during Corona, like that were meant to happen whenever it happened. So a lot of them got cancelled. But my kind of opinion is probably that it is a lot of it is going to be the crowds because you've seen some of the crowds at like even download festivals like 80,000
Yeah.
people like all very like congregated together, and even kind of smaller venues where people are like literally like fucking shoulder to shoulder pushing into each other, sweating all over each other.
Mm-hmm.
As disgusting as it sounds, bodily fluids all
Bodily
over each other
fluids.
without
Can I
without
put my
something
bodily
overly
fluids
sexual.
on you?
But no, I think it's going to be a mixture of both, but it's more so going to be the crowds because that's where everybody's
Yeah.
kind of congregated together. But I suppose
Yeah.
bands kind of turn around will help bring it from place to place as well. But
Yeah.
whether we should let that kind of like stop like
Oh yeah,
kind of just
well
bring
that's for
everything
sure.
to a halt or not is
Um,
I I don't think it should. Like I think that's kind of it's kind of up to the people to,
yeah,
well, number one, probably get vaccinated to like kind of decrease the kind of like risk they have from COVID as
yeah,
well, and make that educated kind of decision whether they're comfortable like being closely congregated together with a lot of other people or not as
yeah.
well.
Well, not to finish it on a really bad note, but native seafood are closed for the foreseeable because one of their team has had to isolate, so now the rest of them have to as well. And they put
Is
up an
this the
Instagram
place you were going
post.
to take me to?
Yeah, this is the place we were gonna
Ah,
scran.
fuck, with a
They had
bomb ass
they have
seafood.
the best
Ah,
monkfish burgers ever. Like I'm normal, like a lot of food I don't really,
yeah,
not that I don't like seafood, but like a lot of it's really sort of overdone, or there's like too much sauce, or the sauce is too cheesy, or there's too much cheese in the cheese. I'm just, like, but the way they do a monkfish burger, I never had monkfish before, and I had it once the last time I was there, and I would honestly die for it. But the heartbreaking thing, they had like, I think they said they had over £1,000 worth of fresh fish that they kind of were like, what are we gonna do with this? But I think they got it sorted. I think
give
somebody
it to the
took it.
community.
Yeah, I think somebody took.
Yeah.
Give it to me. I think somebody took it off their hands, so they're grand now. But so thoughts and prayers to the native gang. Hopefully we get the podcast sponsored with free merch.
Yeah. Give
um,
me some fucking free
yeah,
monkfish burgers or
give me
something.
free
I've never
monkfish
tried it before,
burgers.
but
Give me free
I
shirts.
assume it's very
It
nice.
is
I'll
worth the
take your
money.
word for it.
I got it in a roll. They do it in a
Yeah.
burger, but I got it in like a brioche roll, which I'm not a fan of rolls because I get them everywhere. Like I prefer burgers because you can hold them a
Yeah.
certain way and
Yeah.
keep everything in. But they had this spicy Korean sauce on it, and it's just absolutely delicious. So if you are listening, and Native is open by the time you do listen, um, do head down. I don't know if they still have the
Try
little
them out.
pod. Yeah, I don't know if they still have the little pod by the marina or if they have are only in the Portchester Prom pool area. Um, but if you can get to them, get to them. Get yourself a monkfish burger and hot diggity damn, it's well worth it. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything from us. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Yeah. Hopefully
Um,
that was a good first episode.
hopefully,
I think it went pretty well. I really enjoyed it myself too. I
yeah,
don't think my cough was as bad as I
it
thought
wasn't
it was
as
going
bad.
to
I
be.
think you
So
only coughed 3 or 4 times actually.
yeah.
Um, yeah, no,
So
we chatted a
all I
good
can
bit,
say is we did.
covered everything.
How long we've been? 1 hour 10 minutes is what
Yeah,
I
I
can
don't
see
I don't
pretty
know how long
much.
I've been recording for, but I think it's pretty
But
big.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, no, I'm
but
I'm
yeah,
excited for future episodes. I really
definitely.
enjoyed them, and
We'll
yeah.
definitely try and get more guests and stuff on. There is a local band actually. You know Emil Wilcox and
I do.
Harley.
I actually listened to their single yesterday, and it
Yeah,
was very well put
I was
together.
gonna
I
say I
was
was gonna say
really
to get to it.
pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
I only got to listen to like the start of it, and I kind of had like, it's kind of giving me game show vibes, like that kind of like upbeat game show kind of music
Yeah,
at the start.
it's kind of like indie sort of pop punk vibes.
Yeah.
But
So
what's
yeah,
the single actually called and the band?
um,
I can't actually remember what it's.
they're called the Caged Hearts, and their single is called On Your Shoulder. It's out now on all major platforms. And I think they released it through Royal Music Group or something, Royale.
Yeah, I think they did.
Who
Yeah,
they're either a subsidiary of or owned by Universal, which is fair play. Like for a local band from here being associated in any way from with Universal, who are apparently the biggest record label ever. I don't know. I don't know what the truth is in that. But yeah, we'll maybe have those guys on the podcast to chat about
yeah,
their sort of creative process behind that, because I know you're big into your music and recording as well, and it's something
yeah.
that kind of
Go
interests
listen
me.
to it on Spotify as well
Go
because it
listen to it
is
on
good.
Spotify, but listen to the rest of this episode first, the next 10 seconds. um, and yeah, no, I think that's everything I have. Something did come into my mind, but I've totally forgotten about it. So it can't have been that important. I'm sure I'll add it in afterwards if I remember. um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Go and give us a follow on. Check the notes for the link tree where you can find the Discord server, and yeah, that's another thing. Actually, the Discord server does have a stage where we'll like have chats with folks and stuff periodically
okay.
that aren't going to be on the podcast if we get time for that. So yeah, but I think that's pretty
Yep.
much everything I wanted to cover. That's everything you want to chat about.
Everything I wanted to cover. I'm very happy with how the episode turned out.
Yeah,
So I
so
think
we've got a
we
got
can
a,
hear
got a lot of
and
chewing.
talk
Yeah,
more shit the next one.
talk
Yeah,
more crap the next time. All right,
yeah.
that'll do. Have a good one, folks. Peace out.